Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spiritual Journey podcast. My name is Nimesh, Radia, and I'm your host. I always love starting every episode by saying thank you. I feel so blessed with this podcast, the people it reaches, the impact it has, and the messages, emails, DMs we get every week, just letting us know the impact of the episodes. And so, thank you if you've been listening to this podcast. Thank you for joining. If this is your first one, and welcome. Thank you for allowing us to guide you on your spiritual journey, for holding you in space. This is our way of giving back, and we love what we do. I am an Akashic record reader, Akashic trainer, podcast host, podcast creator, as well as a spiritual coach and mentor. I love guiding people on their spiritual journey. I feel like we're all going through some kind of shift, and whether it's reset, rebirth, expansion, whatever it looks like, I feel like collectively everybody's going through something. And what I get to do is I get to guide people, help people to understand their journeys, their programming, and guide people to truly shine their light. Whoever I work with, I feel like it's a soul contract, and I love what I get to do. And this podcast wouldn't be where it is today without my beautiful co-host. So introducing the amazing, the stunning, the healer extraordinaire and published author, Stacey Brown. Stacey, now I got to do that. Please introduce yourself.
Welcome, friends. So good to be back for another episode. I'm really excited to see what we get into today. My name is Stacey. I'm an intuitive. I do readings for people from all around the world. I'm also an Akashic record reader and a spiritual coach and mentor. And I have a book out called Journey to Soul Center, Discovering the Gift of Surrender. It's available on Amazon and Audible. We really love this podcast, and it's so powerful to see the impact that it's having. Really looking forward to getting into another episode today.
Thank you, Stace. So, as I've said on this podcast quite often, is we don't script anything. Whatever comes through, comes through. And more recently, we've not really been planning the titles either. We're just kind of enjoying feeling the energy, what we've been talking about recently with our clients to pick the topic. So today we're talking about the spiritual power of waiting, where nothing is happening, but in reality, everything is happening. And it's kind of collectively what everybody feels like. It's just with the clients, I actually even had a couple of sessions this morning before we were recording, and there seems to be a theme. Sometimes it feels like nothing is really happening. Sometimes it feels like humanly we're really busy and we don't get to do the spiritual work. And sometimes it feels like we're going through such a quick spiritual shift that everything is happening. And it's just trusting in the journey. And for me, the spiritual power of waiting, it does feel like a lot of people are waiting. When we're in some kind of holding pattern, we can feel a shift that's coming. And we don't know what that shift looks like. And it can be frustrating, right? But it's powerful knowing that something's happening and knowing that you're exactly where you're meant to be. Waiting seasons, and when it feels like you're in limbo, they're not wasted. You're still integrating. It's just like we've been through such a period of change, such a period of integration, such a period of expansion and cycles completing. And we chose this accelerated path, and it feels like we've been on this accelerated path since 2020, if not longer. But sometimes when it feels like nothing is happening, we have to trust that everything is happening. We have to trust that our guides are working behind the scenes. You know, I was thinking of the phrase "God's delays are not God's denials," and it's that there's a thing about divine timing. There's a thing about trusting. There's a thing about when you truly let go, that's when things start to shift in. So if you are feeling like you're in some kind of holding pattern, doesn't feel like much is going on, then what does it feel like to trust that lots is happening behind the scene? What does it feel like to trust that your guides, the universe, are actually creating something for you that's going to be amazing? What if everything is happening? So, Stacey, I'm sure you can relate to this topic. And before we get in deeper, I'd love to know what does it feel to you when I say to you the spiritual power waiting, when nothing is happening, but truly trusting everything is happening. I'm sure you can relate because I know your personal situation and kind of based on conversations we've been having, this is where this topic came from. But I'd love for you to share what does this topic mean to you?
You know, it's so interesting because I am absolutely in a season of waiting. For those who are new to the podcast, I made the decision to move to the UK from the US, and I'm currently waiting on approval of a visa. And the process is so daunting, my friends. I know we all see these TV shows where it's advertised that, like the 90-day fiance, and, you have this process that unfolds really quickly. But the reality of the process for me has been very, very different than that. And it's tedious and it's time consuming. And once you've applied, you then just sit and wait. And in the sitting and waiting, I have found myself churning. And this past week specifically, I was a mess. And I could not figure out why I was such a mess and why it was impacting me so deeply. And I decided to do a journaling session. And what I uncovered from the journaling session was the reason that I was so frustrated with this waiting time is that I'm trying to control it. I'm trying to control something that's out of my control. And in trying to control something that's out of my control, I have gotten this level of frustration that has been very hard to work through. And so what I have found is that I've had to surrender again. I've had to let go and say, there's more here. There's more than what I know going on behind the scenes. And there's more here happening than what I can control. And I also think part of it is recognizing that in the waiting, I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. There's not just a period of waiting happening. There's still stuff happening in the waiting, right? And one of the things that I think about is this precious time with my family, right? Spending time with my children while I can on a regular basis, daily basis, whatever you want to say, having that interaction and that support with them, building those relationships, spending times with friends and family is really important right now. And there are all of these things that if I was so consumed with the waiting, I would be missing the things that are actually happening. And there are some beautiful things happening, some opportunities for me to be close to family and friends and be a support to them in this season that might be changing when my role changes when I move. And so I've had to shift my mindset from this space of waiting and impatience and frustration into a space of surrender and acceptance. And let me tell you, it hasn't been easy. It has not been easy. But when it hit me so hard this last week that I was resisting, I recognized I have to let go again. And so this season for me is about surrendering over and over again. Surrendering control, surrendering power, surrendering time, and just accepting that this is where I am and that this is where I'm meant to be. And I think it's taking a huge amount of trust, right? Because I want things to look different than what they look right now. But the divine, my higher power, is saying, you're not ready for that yet. I need you here. And so I'm trying to really maximize my experience here for all that it is, whether it's impact on a client that I'm supposed to have, or an interaction with a friend that I'm supposed to have, or a memory I'm supposed to make with one of my kids. I'm trying to really focus on being present in this current time and allowing things to unfold exactly the way they're meant to. So it's been a powerful season of introspection for me, and probably one of the most challenging times I've ever been through in my life.
Thanks, Stace. That's so powerful. It's really interesting. I listen to what we say sometimes, and I would reflect. Sometimes I feel like we make it sound really easy, and everything Stace just mentioned. I hope you realize that actually that's not our intention. Our intention is to be realistic, to share from the heart, and also I want you to know, as Stacey just described, we go through stuff too, right? So this waiting and kind of sometimes feeling like nothing's happening, and trusting that everything is in divine timing. It's a journey too, right? Especially when right now you can feel there's so much changing. And sometimes you want it to happen quickly, right? Whatever's coming next. But the point is, the magic is in the moment, as Stacey was just describing, right? It's that appreciating the time that she has with family before she moves and creating magic moments. And I remember the time when I knew that I had to leave corporate. I knew that, I'd spent many years in corporate. And I enjoyed my time there. And don't get me wrong, I worked for a really good company. That was a good space. And there was a part of me that was like, I've been here 17 years, and, it'd be nice if I got some sort of package. And so I waited and I waited and I waited, and I thought it's going to happen soon. It's going to happen soon. In the end, didn't happen, and I decided I couldn't stay there anymore. And it's just, but I also recognize now, if I look back, because sometimes I think, well, we should have left sooner. That's just the human in me. I love what I get to do, and sure, I could have left sooner. Who knows? Does it really matter? That this journey and the breakthroughs that Stacey just talked about, she had in this past week. That's where the power comes from. The trust that the shift that is happening is meant to be, and surrendering and letting go, and and it's interesting, right? Surrendering doesn't mean not doing anything. There is a difference between spiritual stillness and emotional stagnation. I get asked the question so often: what's the difference between being your destiny, your purpose, and free will? I believe the bigger things that we're here to experience will find us, but free will comes into place when sometimes we can delay it, right? Sometimes when it's just, so you've still got to do the work. You've still got to do the inner child work. You've still got to have a strong self-care routine. You've still got to meet the universe halfway. Sitting back and just saying, okay, I'm waiting, I'm in this period of, I'm in holding pattern. You still got to do the self-care. You still got to be the universe. You still got to be ready, right? And sometimes we do emotionally stagnate. And asking those questions, asking and feeling what you're going through inside is where you understand it. It's like, well, hold on a second. Am I meeting the universe halfway? Am I doing the things? Am I lifting my soul? Am I in a state of emotional stagnation? Because I also feel like when we get to that point, the universe is giving us clues. And are we listening? That's the trick, is knowing what the messages from the universes are. And sometimes we don't want to hear them. Sometimes the message is, be patient, surrender, trust, meet the universe halfway. And it can be really frustrating, that kind of, if we're waiting something, okay, well, let's just wait. Sometimes we stop doing the things that were working. I would encourage you to do more of those things. But I get, sometimes it feels like you're on a hamster wheel and you're going against the hamster wheel. But actually, I feel like the universe will reward you when you meet the universe halfway. So keep showing up for yourself. Keep truly kind of shining your light. Keep having your self-care routine. That kind of gets you ready for whatever's next. Stacey just mentioned that to get through, she did a journaling session, which actually helped her to understand this phase. that's what spiritual stillness looks like when you're still doing the work. I'd love for you to share, Stacey, what is the difference for you between spiritual stillness and emotional stagnation? What does that mean to you? And what do you make sure you do to ensure that you're not emotionally stagnating?
So I think I was emotionally stagnating. I think I was absolutely in a space of like, let me just head down, push through this, kind of numb myself to whatever is going on and just push through, right? And that wasn't ultimately working for me. It was making me feel like I was churned up. It was making me feel disconnected. And I feel like when you're in a space of acceptance of what is, then you're more spiritually aligned and you are trusting that whatever is meant for you will find you. And I think a lot of times we, by nature, are control freaks, right? We want to say, okay, this is happening this time, this is happening this time. And I think for those of us who have been parents, we're used to taking charge and like kind of getting our kids where they need to be at a certain time and making sure that dinner's on the table at a certain time. Like we take control of the situation, right? And we make sure that our kids have what they need and we deliver. And this season is teaching me something totally different. It's showing me that I'm not in control, that somebody else greater than me is in control, and that I have to relinquish the control. And through the process of turning inward and being introspective, it has allowed me to shift into a more spiritual mindset and first accept my situation, accept that this is where I am right now, and then surrender to that situation, that whatever I'm meant to experience right now, I'm going to experience. And it's interesting because as I made this mindset shift, okay, I had this window open up to me of all of these things that I can be experiencing during the waiting. For example, my daughter's getting her tonsils out this week. If I were in the UK right now, I wouldn't be here to provide the support and the care and the love and the healing that she's going to need to recover from her surgery. And I've been able to see her surgery in a whole different way than I would have even a couple of days ago, because I wasn't thinking about the importance of the role that I'm playing while I'm here. I was just thinking about what's coming next. And right now, all the signs are showing that I'm meant to be here, right? I'm meant to be here with my daughter, helping her through this challenging time. I'm meant to be here for my other kids, to nurture and connect with them. And when the timing is right, I will hear about the visa and I will be able to make moves towards that direction. But me sitting and waiting and anticipating that and not thinking about what's in front of me would have me missing some really incredible experiences that are allowing me to be a support and in a loving environment for those around me. And I don't want to miss that.
I love that. You make some really, really important points. Acceptance on this journey is really powerful. Because sometimes we do get frustrated, right? Sometimes we do get impatient, and we're ready for whatever's coming next, and it's almost like we want this phase to be over so we can be there for for whatever's next. And that's really the really interesting thing is I find that the importance of surrendering and letting go. Until you do that, the next thing won't come along anyway. So it's really interesting and paradoxical that sometimes our own frustration is actually stopping us from moving forward. And the moment we let go and trust and just enjoy, because we're a soul having human experience, and the human experience is a day-to-day thing. It's this moment. It's not about what's happening tomorrow or next week. It's about this moment. So why can't we enjoy the experience? Let's be honest with ourselves. Look at the past few years. All going all the way back to COVID, to lockdown. How much control have we had? And I talk about this all the time. How much control have we really had? And it really is time to let go. Do the work. Meet the universe. Stacey was talking about journaling and all this stuff that she's doing. She's enjoying the moment. And it's just, this past weekend, I didn't have a lot on. But impromptu, my nephew, his wife, and with their young son visited on Saturday, and we had a great afternoon together. I intentionally wanted a relaxed week because I knew this week was going to be busy. With last weekend because I knew this week was going to be busy. I have a lot on this week, so I just you know what? I let it go. It's okay to take time out for me and take time out doing not much. The healing. It reminds me of the episode that we released today, actually, which is spirituality. Being spiritual is not about being perfect. And everything's always connected. I love how the topics kind of all combine, but this spiritual journey is meant to be up and down. It is meant to be, the work that we do isn't linear. And sometimes there is bends in the road. Sometimes there is potholes. Sometimes there is things that happen. It's just the more that you can be present, enjoying the moment, knowing that whatever the universe throws at you, you can handle. There's more power in that. Real talk. It isn't about healing. Isn't about everything being totally ease and grace and being, easy, and we can't control it. And it's not about getting it right. What are you trying to get right? Inner child work isn't right or wrong. Inner child work comes up when you need to release, when you need to do. So what are we trying to get right? And I'm sure there's many of us want to understand this phase, want to understand what's happening on the planet. There's so much pain on the planet, and you kind of look at it and you wonder, well, hold on. Why is the planet going through so much of a shift? And the reality is the planet needs to go through this shift. If we're going to shift from divine masculine to divine feminine, if we're going to release the layers that we've created over centuries, then it is going to require a rebuild. And that means breaking down everything we've created to rebuild it. And for many of us, that's what's happening inside. Is you're being rebuilt. You're being recreated. You're going through a rebirth, which means that so many facets of you have to be let go. And that's where you have to trust that you're not missing anything. Nothing is too late. You're in perfect timing. You're exactly where you're meant to be. It's really interesting how we build, where, when we're going through a shift, when we're going through a rebirth, part of it is accepting who you are right now in this moment before you can become who you're becoming next. So accepting you, falling in love with this version of you, falling in love with whatever's happening in your world right now is about the shift. So how can you embrace who you are in this moment? How can you embrace and love whatever's happening in your world right now? Because accepting who you are, accepting where you're at, accepting whatever's going on is a big part of it. If you feel like you're in a state of pause and stillness, then how can you trust the importance of this phase? How can you stop yourself from rushing in to try and fix something because nothing's broken? And that's really what we're asking you today, is trust in the pause. Because nothing is paused, right? Change is the only constant. So the universe is working in the background. And maybe there isn't anything you need to fix. That doesn't mean you don't need to do something. I keep going back in circles because I want to make sure the message is clear. Trust in you. Accept who you are. Trust the universe has got your back. But still meet the universe halfway by meditating, time in nature, time in movement. That's when your breakthroughs come through. Being conscious and appreciating the magic moments like Stacey was talking about. I had a beautiful Saturday with I hate to think I've, my nephew's got, I'm now got to I guess, I don't know what the title for it is, but maybe grandnephew. I mean, that's how it makes me sound. But, I loved it. And I could have quite easily thinking, oh, God, there was an event I was supposed to go on Saturday. It's like, oh, I need to go to the event. And I was like, you know what? No, let me spend time with family. And I loved it. So what can you do for you today? What can you do today for you to appreciate the magic in your world? To know that actually you're exactly where you're meant to be? And what if maybe when things feel like still, when they feel like you're on a pause, it's because the universe wants you to stop and look at the roses, smell the roses, look at the magic in your world. Doing some grounding, breath work feels really important. Pick what is right. Walk barefoot on grass. Allow yourself to feel your connection to Mother Nature. Go and hug a tree. Do some breathing, some deep breathing. 4-4-4 is always a great technique. Breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds. But do something, but also be patient. It's really interesting because your guides, your universe does want you to do something, meet the universe halfway, but also to trust in stillness. Stacey, what advice would you have for people who are going through this and are feeling like they need to take action? This feeling is making them feel uncomfortable because we're used to, as humans, fixing things, right? You mentioned being a parent, always kind of doing something, but sometimes we've got to wait. What would your advice be for anyone that's going through that stage?
It's so hard. So the first thing I want to say is I freaking see you. I see you and I know how challenging this is. I'm in it with you right now, and it is something I have to redirect myself on a regular basis to stay in a healthy mindset. And sometimes I'm resetting multiple times an hour. Sometimes it's multiple times a day. But my advice to you is to take in what is happening around you and take a look at what you might be missing if you are hyper focused on pushing through this waiting time. Just take a look around you, evaluate what's happening around you. Who's surrounding you at home? Who needs you right now? Who's surrounding you in your work environment? What's happening there that you might learn and grow from? What time can you take for yourself to be introspective? Have you sat and done some writing and allowed yourself a space of understanding what's going on with you? A lot of times when we're thinking about the future and we're thinking about next steps, we are completely missing what's happening in this present moment because we're anticipating instead of being. And so my question to you, my friends, is what are you avoiding in dealing with this time? And my advice to you would be to slow down, to stop, and to become aware of what's happening around you. Who might need you at this time? What memories could you be creating during this time? And what is this time actually meant to be for you? Because I feel a lot of times when we're pushing forward for something to happen, or we're anticipating something happening and we kind of get frozen in space, I feel like we miss a lot of what's happening in the present moment. And I don't want that for me, and I don't want that for you. I really, this last week was a huge test for me. I was so frustrated and angry and resentful and quite frankly, pissed at God. Like, why are you making me wait? Why is this happening this way? What am I supposed to do? What if I'm not approved? What if? And I was playing out all the what if scenarios and completely missing what was happening around me. And I realized that because I took the quiet time to really turn inward and figure out what was going on. And that's where the aha moment came. And so my question to you is, are you avoiding that time with yourself? Have you taken time with yourself to really think about what's going on and what the deeper meaning might be, right? Because Like you always say, Nims, like God's delays aren't his denials, right? So just because something is taking a little bit longer than what you thought it was going to doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. But what are you missing in the interim? What powerful experiences, what connections, what opportunities to grow and learn are you missing while you're waiting for this one particular thing? And sometimes it's something big that we're waiting on, right? And it can feel really heavy. And I get that as well. But I also feel like we can't stop living. We've got to be continuing on the path of living and enjoying our experiences and making memories. And I don't want to look back on this time with regret. I don't want to look back on this time and say I was so fixated on what was coming next that I missed everything that was happening in the present moment. I don't want that for myself. I don't want that for my family. I don't want that for my friends. And so I would encourage you to be really intentional with the people and the experiences that are surrounding you at this time, and allowing yourself to really soak those in, even though you might not be where you want to be. Maybe you're exactly where you need to be.
Maybe you're exactly where you need to be. I love that. Like I said, it is really interesting times. And the other conversation I'm finding that having quite often is looking at the soul contracts around you. So I'll always say that, if you think of yourself as a Disney prince, Disney princess, and look at the people around you, know that they're playing the roles that you asked them to play. But let's take a situation where a soul contract's coming to an end, and you're in a relationship and you know that actually maybe you're not meant to be together, but you're still in the same space. What if that means that there's still some integration to go? What if that means that you are, at Stacey's point, you're exactly where you're meant to be? You came into this life and with agreeing some soul contracts, which include some expansion. And sometimes you want to accelerate the moving on. But accepting who you are, accepting everything you've been through, accepting that you are exactly where you're meant to be is also part of that release. Part of integrating a soul contract, soul journey is also integration. So trusting that nothing is missing. And again, we acknowledge that sometimes we make things sound easy and it isn't. But this is a phase where we're all going through massive change. And our guides are giving us glimpses of what's coming, but we can't see everything. So it's just that. And sometimes there is a holding pattern. Sometimes there is a weight. Sometimes there is, because there's so much work that's being done in the background. What if all this waiting, what if all this kind of is an activation in disguise that you are being upgraded? And what if you trusting, Stacey's been churning about the conversations she's had for a while, but actually this past week, she allowed herself to go into a deep journey exercise, which helped her to understand that actually what she needs to do is appreciate this time that she's having with her kids, because whenever she moves to the UK, she'll still see them whenever she travels back, but she's not going to be able to see them as regularly as she can now. So in that moment, she's realizing that if she's so focused on waiting for the visa and the next phase of her life, she's going to miss the opportunities this week to be there for her daughter. How powerful is that? If you just close your eyes, you just feel the energy around you, you'll feel things moving. Maybe not as quick, but how do you know things are not moving quickly around you? How do you know that your guides, the universe, are not keeping you still and feeling like you're not moving forward? Because they're doing so much work in the background. And if you saw it, then it would consume you. What if you're being upgraded and getting ready for whatever's next? It's changing your question and trusting what's happening on the inside. And trusting you're not behind, but you're becoming. There is power in silence. There is power in kind of trusting in your journey. There is such a shift that's happening in you. You are where you're meant to be. You're chosen. You chose to be here. And you've been through so much. we're so used to things changing and things shifting so quickly. I mean, I was talking to Stacey about this phase for her, and she's been through so much since I've known her, but this is the first time where she's actually making a choice. Whereas every other time she's gone through a shift, it feels like it was kind of a necessity, but this time she's choosing to move. She's doing something for her. So what are you choosing to do for you? What are you choosing to let go of? What if, like we said earlier, you trusting in your journey, and as soon as you surrender, things start to shift. And you can sit here and, I'll set the intention, you know what, I'm going to surrender. And then, a day later, kind of come back to this episode, you DM one of us and say, well, you know what, I surrendered, but still nothing shifting. There's a surrendering and letting go and trusting isn't a one-day thing. It isn't a 2-minute thing. It isn't a 1-week thing. Who knows? But I can tell you that things are being prepared for you in the background, whatever that's meant to be. Your guides are always working. Your soul chose your guides to guide you on this journey. So, the more you can trust, the more you can let go, the better. Stace, again, have you got any journal prompts that helped you to kind of open up this past week? Or have you got any journal prompts that maybe you could help people on their journey? Anything that's in your heart that you'd love to share?
So one of the things I feel is really important to share at this point is I really believe in the power of the Akashic Records. I really feel like tapping into the Akashic Records has been a powerful part of my journey. And for those who aren't educated on the Akashic Records are a history of everything your soul has been through. And it is a powerful process to kind of learn how to be guided to the Akashic Records. And I went through that process a couple of years ago and have used the Akashic prayer and the process of opening the Akashic Records in the times where I've had my quiet moments and done my journaling. And I feel that also has been a sacred part of the journey of me accepting this season of waiting. And so I just want to mention that because it's another avenue that I've chosen to use to help me find peace. And it's absolutely been pivotal in this journey. As far as journal prompts, I would ask yourself, what could I be missing in this season if I'm focused on what's coming next and not what's happening now? And allow yourself to really think about the people, the places, the experiences around you right now at this time, who might need you, who you might need, and allow yourself the space to kind of evaluate what's happening in your life right now. Like, what experiences could you be brushing aside because you're so focused on what's happening next that you're not thinking about what's happening now? And give yourself the space to write about it. Think about the different people in your life, the different interactions you have, maybe the people at your job, wherever you are in life. Who needs you right now and needs your energy? Maybe there's somebody that you need their energy and you haven't realized it. I mean, I know for me, I know that my family needs me right now, but I also feel the connection with my friends and the memories that I'm making with them right now that I wouldn't otherwise get. I spent the afternoon yesterday with a good friend of mine, and we were just doing mundane things. She was helping me with a house project, and then I was cutting her hair and cutting her mom's hair, and you know what I mean, spending time with her. But those memories and that time, like, I won't get that back. And right now in this season, this is where I'm needed, right? And so it's given me this awareness of experiences that I was missing. I was missing the importance of, and I was missing the impact that those experiences were having. So take some time to write about what's happening around you, right? And how those experiences might need you in this time, right? Those people, those memories. And you might be bypassing those because you're so focused on what's happening next. But I really feel like when we take some time to write and be thoughtful, we get these aha moments that we might not otherwise have. So even if you're in a space where you don't have an exact journal prompt, sit down with your journal and write about your frustration. Okay, start with your frustration, where you want to be that you're not, and what's happening, and vent it all out. And then I want you to go to a space of reframing things and thinking about what you might be missing in this time by focusing so much on what you want for the future, and see what comes up. Okay, it can be a powerful process when we sit with our own thoughts and our own words, and we allow ourselves to dig deep and tap into that. We can really uncover some things that we might not otherwise be aware of. So take that time, whether it's time in nature and meditative time, or it's writing time with your journal. Take that time and turn inwards and really ask yourself what this time is trying to teach you. What is this time trying to show you?
I love that. I love that. And if I can encapsulate that or some of that into one journal prompt, or just feeling it and just what is this pause inviting me to remember? Because sometimes there is an invitation there too, right? And the other thing that Stacey talked about was Akashic Records. And what if at this time is also preparing you? So what are you doing to prepare? Are you looking at your inner circle and making sure that you're manifesting the right inner circle to support you for this next phase? Are you looking for communities that can hold your space, that can lift you up? Are you you want to look for a mentor, right? Maybe you want to look for a guide. Maybe you want to look for somebody who can help you to understand this phase. And both me and Stacey, we do jointly and individually a beautiful mentorship program, which does that. Book a free discovery call. We'll take you through it. But use this time, as Stacey was talking about, to create magic moments. Who haven't you spent time with recently that could lift your soul? What are you waiting for? Use this time to manifest that inner circle, to manifest people that lift you up, to choose to let go of those souls that no longer serve you, where your soul contracts is done. There's power in this pause. There's power in this waiting. You're being activated, and there's a message in everything that's happening for us. And only you can sit with it and just understand, well, hold on. What am I holding on to? Is there something I need to let go of as part of this phase? Am I meant to just be still and truly meet the universe halfway with everything I do? Am I meant to do all of it? Your answers are in you. And the other thing I always advise is change your, instead of how do I think about this, how do I feel about it? Switch from your head to your heart. How do you feel about something? Are you really truly to yourself? If you look in the mirror and have an honest conversation with yourself about how you feel about something, what can shift? And like I said, trust that you're not behind, you're becoming. Because even in this stillness, your soul is moving. This season is really shaping you for whatever's coming next. It's shaping you for who you're becoming in ways that you can't even see. So what if you could trust this process? What if you could truly engage your soul and just ride the wave? Appreciate each of the magic moments. Create some magic memories. Spend some time with loved ones. Spend some time with you. Do things that you've never done before. How serious has this phase got? Yes, there are serious things happening. And of course, send love where that needs to be. But also, are you embracing life? Are you doing things that actually bring a smile to your face? This is a time to be. And I didn't say just be, right? Just be is like such an interesting. This is a time to be, to appreciate whatever's happening in the moments around you, to create magic moments, to truly let go of what doesn't serve, and to embrace you. And always remember, you're not behind, you are becoming. I love that phrase. You're not behind, you are becoming. Let us know if there's any topics you'd like us to cover. All the topics are always connected, so whichever episode resonates. Some like to listen in order, some like to listen whichever one that they're called to. But yeah, if you do have any feedback, please let us know. Sending so much love and light out to everybody who's, if you're feeling frustrated, if you're going through something, allow yourself to be loved. Allow your guides to love you. Allow yourself to truly see magic. Allow yourself to laugh, cry, be present. This is a magic period where the planet is going through a shift. And I always like to refer to spirituality as not being not being complicated. But that's not to say it's not going to be hard, because your soul might have picked an expansive life. But what if it doesn't have to be complicated? What if it is truly about being present in the moment? Stacey, I love sharing this space with you. I'm going to hand over to you to finish with any final thoughts and close us up. Over to you.
Friends, if you're in a season of waiting and you're frustrated, maybe this is your sign to do things a little bit differently. Maybe this is your sign to turn inward and change your focus and allow yourself to truly embrace this uncomfortable season. We're here to support you in any way we can. We have some beautiful programs that we do together that can help you navigate a season of unknown. Reach out to us for a free discovery call. We're more than willing to guide you on your journey to healing and help you with this period of waiting. We are so grateful for our listening audience and for the opportunity that we have every week to pour into you. And our greatest hope is to simplify these spiritual topics in a way that makes it easy for you to understand and follow. Thank you so much for being here with us for another episode, and we'll see you again very soon. Thanks, Nims.
Thanks, Stacey. Sending love and light out to everybody, and we'll be back very soon. Bye for now.